Okay, ayan, magandang gabi ho sa inyong lahat. Welcome ho sa ating show. Ito ho a brand new show na ho ngayon. It used to be a segment, now it's going to be a program. It's a program now. Ito ho ang Immigration Corner with Attorney LIRA Simon CABATBAT. Good evening, Attorney. Magandang gabi sa iyo.
Magandang gabi din, Sonny. How are you?
Well, I'm fine, thank you. Yes, it's a lot of people celebrate are greeting me on my birthday since last night. So, yes, yan ang topic namin mamaya sa show natin sa Sunny Laragan show, no? Okay naman. It's with families. My one daughter and 3 grandchildren. So, ayan ang aking scenario today, and a very good friend, no? Since my early broadcast days. So yun ang aking ano. Ikaw, kumusta? Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Yes, so na-miss ka namin last week, ha? We didn't see you because you were anong tawag dito? Meron kang ginawa, no? So hindi tayo nakapag-show. We missed you for one Thursday night. And we've been announcing yung program na Legal Advice Corner and Immigration Corner are no longer segments but individual programs on our network, no. So good evening, Attorney. Yes. Anong pag-uusapan? Meron kaya tayong gustong talakayin ngayon sa gabi ito, no? Ito ho'y mga kaibigan ay dagdag kaalaman sa atin. Kung meron ho kayong mga tanong, no, pwede nyo i-message ho dyan sa ating Facebook page, or pwede nyo siguro hopefully itawag ninyo. Medyo tignan natin kung gumagana yung acting Zoom. But anyway, ayan ho mga paraan. No, baka kayo may problema sa immigration, sarili nyo, or may mga kakilala ho kayo. Okay, Attorney. Yes, good evening. Yes, anong pag-uusapan na?
Well, I mean, good evening. Magandang gabi po. It's so nice to be back. I'm sorry wala nga ako last week. I'm truly sorry to have missed that. I had a test, you know. So further qualification. So unfortunately, it was in the evening, so wala akong magawa. But you know what? It was so nice afterwards. On Friday, I got actually emails from various people who said, "What happened? Nasan ka?" Which was great. So I'm saying hello now to Emma from London. She was the first one to email me. So Friday morning, meron akong email. Anong nangyari sa'yo? Josie Manchester, you know. Okay. And I don't know Josie, so it seems she's been following the program.
Oh, okay, so Josie, mabuhay,
Manchester, and Lisa from Derby. Yeah.
Oh, so wow.
It's nice to be missed.
Oh, that's good. Yes. You're right. No, tinatanong nga ako the following day, asa si Attorney? Sabi ko nga, may inasikaso lang medyo importante. So that's nice, no? Yeah. And people are even calling me, messaging me. Hindi ko nakita, may tanong ho ako. Meron issues ganito. Kaya nga, nire-relay ko rin sa iyo ibang mga natatanggap kong mga queries, no? And they will even message na, nagugulat ako, evening na no? So, okay, Attorney, ano bang mahalaga? Mukhang we're talking of what? With the COVID thing yata, no? Dahil andito pa tayo, no?
Yeah, yun na nga. No, ang pag-usapan natin ngayon is essentially the appeal procedure and changes to that because of COVID. Because of course, at the moment, we're still, unfortunately, in the middle of that. So, and importante pa rin because there are deadlines still that need to be adhered to. And the process also has changed to take into account remote hearings because people can't go to court, not allowed to go to court. So, let me start by saying now, tribunals take into account when someone is represented, kung may solicitor sila o wala. But regardless of whether you have representation nga or not, the tribunal's overriding objective is to deal with a case efficiently and obviously with proportionate cost. Now, they can be a bit kinder to appellants without representation, but it does not mean that they will do your job for you. So it's still for you as the appellant to provide the tribunal with documents to prove your case. Now, to take into account the fact that you can't, that hearings have been adjourned and you can't attend in person, most of the tribunals at the moment are listing cases nga for what's called a case management review hearing. No? Now, this is done remotely, so by phone, mainly actually at the moment, or by video, so Skype. So basically, representatives and their clients dial in. It's a bit like a conference call. Now, at the case management hearing, the judge will then say, okay, what about the bundles? Where are the bundles? What about statements? Who's going to give evidence? So witness statements. So they make, if you like, a list of things that need to be done. And they're called directions. And means exactly that. They are directing you to do certain things. Now, it's very, very important when you get with directions that you adhere to the deadlines, because if you don't, if you're late, then you need to ask the tribunal for permission to file your late documents, and you need to give reason why you're late. Now, when you get the written directions after the CMR hearing, they will also say there where you need to send your documents. So if you have statements, medical report, there on the written directions will say where you need to send it. And often it is the judge who dealt with the review hearing. Now, that can be done, as I've said, by phone. So at the moment, it's by phone mainly, but they can also do it by way of cloud video platform. So basically, it's Skype, the video link. Now, this all started, well, of course, in March, they adjourned all the cases. It was just not moving. But since about June, things have started moving a bit faster. So mainly directions are being dealt with by phone, very few last month by video link. Now, between July, so now, until about September, the aim of the tribunal is to hear more cases by way of video link. And also they've started opening up some hearing centers. So for example, Taylor House in London is now open. But of course, they're hearing very limited cases, and mainly they're dealing with final hearings that are much more complex. Now, then they say from October to December, and they hope certainly that more, if not all, the hearing centers are open. But in any event, they will step up process by way of video link. Now, so lots of things are being dealt with remotely. But what does that mean essentially for appellants? Now, this is where good preparation kicks in. There's going to be, or there is, considerably more reliance on documents. Now, before COVID, when you have a face-to-face hearing, it meant that if a judge can ask a witness to clarify now, to explain, elaborate on a certain issue. This is just harder remotely, because it's difficult to also gauge, especially if you're not, if you're on the phone, how someone is giving evidence. And so essentially the judge must then go back to your statement. Now, if you prepared a good statement, hopefully it will clarify whatever issues the judge may need to elaboration on. If you have not filed a statement, or you prepared a bad one, then that does not help the judge, and that may result actually to a refusal. But so the written documents that you're going to file is certainly becomes more important. So statements, medical reports, grounds for appeal. Alongside that, bundles should be indexed and paginated. So the documents now that you have, your statements more, it should be clearly set out at the front page, indexed and paginated. Where is the statement of the witness, for example, so that the judge can then see, right, okay, page 10, the statement of Miss So-and-so is there. It's really to guide them more easily so that they can read things also clearly. Now, likewise, if a document is not in English, it needs to be translated. If you don't translate it, then it's not going to be taken into account, because the judge may not be able to understand it. It's also important that you prepare a chronology, a history, if you like, especially now if the background is complex. Now, what I also like to do, especially where there's more than two people involved, is to set out very clearly in the chronology who's who. So if you have an appeal on, say, a child's appeal on sole responsibility, you should say at the top who the appellant is, so the child, for example, the parents, if both parents are giving evidence, if there are siblings, who they are, and also where they are, the witnesses, where are they living. So all those things are quite important because now, especially now, where things need to be dealt with remotely by phone or even at best video link, the importance of documents become even more, it becomes even more valid simply because you can't just go to a witness and ask the question. So again, as I've said now before in previous broadcasts, truly the key is preparation, preparation, preparation.
Okay, ayan, okay. Attorney, ano lang, ito yung mga na mga procedures of ito appeal procedure changes, no? Ngayong COVID na in-explain ninyo. Tanungin ko lang, ano ba yung CMR hearings? Ano ba, what does CMR stand for? Para sa kalinawan ho ng ating mga kababayan, mga nanonood, nakikinig sa atin. Ano yung CMR? Yeah. Did you say CMR?
Yeah, CMR, so abbreviation nga lang yung for Acknowledgement Review Hearing. It's actually CMRH, So that just means the judge will deal with it by phone. Okay, so lilista nila, are we going to make contact with the appellant nga or the sponsor by phone or by video link?
Could you say that again, please, yung kanina CMA? Kasi yung when you were trying to say it, biglang nagpumitik yung audio, nag-choppy. Just at that very instant when you were saying. So, sabi mo, parang CMRH pa yata, parang ganun. Pero ano ibig sabihin ng CMR once again?
Yeah, so CMRH is just abbreviation nga for Case Management Review Hearing.
Yun. Okay. Yeah. Alright. Okay. Ayan. May tanong tayo, attorney, dito, no? Isa sa ating viewer, sabi niya, my husband's application was refused in the Philippines last week. What is the deadline for appealing?
Okay. If the appellant nga is outside the United Kingdom, the deadline is 28 days. Now, 28 days run from the date that you're deemed to have been served. So, kung binigay nga sa kanya, so he got it, he got it last week, that means that he only then he has 3 weeks, slightly short, to appeal. 28 days if you're appealing from abroad. If you're in the United Kingdom, it's 14 days nga lang. So obviously just 2 weeks. So you have to be very careful. So sa kanya, he needs to submit it in the next 3 weeks. Otherwise, it's out of time.
The 21 days lang yun, attorney. 28 days ang sinasabi mo. Parang hindi, it doesn't start from the time that they received it? Pag ganun ba?
Yeah, so 28 days. So if he got it last week,
okay.
Let's just say 7 days
already.
Last week.
Okay, 7 days already, yes.
So it would be another, 21. Now, so the 28 days run from the date that you're deemed to have received it. So if kung in-email nila sa iyo and you got it on the day that it was that it was made, then you count 28 days from then. And it's very strict. It's 28 days. They do mean 28 days. They don't mean 29 days. And likewise, kung nandito nga yung tao, it's 14 days.
Paano? Okay, attorney, next question. May question. Ang question daw ay, paano kung lumipat, nag-move, na-miss yung deadline, no? So, dapat niyang gawin ngayon? Dahil hindi natanggap yung refusal, halimbawa. Anong gagawin? What's the best thing to do?
Yeah, well, nangyayari nga yun. It actually is a fairly common problem. Either nga, especially at the moment with post the way it is, that there's a delay in post, o kaya yung nga, kung lumipat nga yung tao, hindi niya nakuha, or sometimes it arrived but no one bothered to look at it. Kung yun nangyari, now, as soon as you are able, you need to apply for permission to appeal out of time. At the moment, courts, tribunals nga are a bit more easygoing with that because they appreciate there's sometimes or often actually delay with post, or indeed just delay post generally. So you need to explain. So pagka nagpasok kayo ng appeal, you need to submit with that the application for permission to appeal out of time. Kailangan mo sabihin nga doon, ano bang nangyari? No? Anong rason mo? And you need to make, and if you have evidence, so if you, I had, for example, I had a case where nagkasakit nga siya. And by the time he got out of hospital, the appeal time had passed. And so we then made an application for permission to appeal out of time, and that was granted. Now, courts are sensible, but you need to do it as soon as you can. So obviously, if you leave it, the longer there's a lapse, then the less likelihood that the court will allow an extension.
Attorney, ang sabi mo, sometimes by phone, ang kunyari, yung mga, kakausapin, no? Or by way of Skype or virtual means, no? Kung ang kliyente or kababayan natin, halimbawa, nakakapagsalita, they can talk in English, pero kabado, nervyoso, would it be advisable to have an interpreter? Would that best serve, their case or their attempt, to have a better outcome, for these hearings?
If you have if your English is okay, but yung nga lang nervyoso ka, you need to think very seriously whether you really need an interpreter. Because really the interpreter is if you can't understand English as well nga, o kaya you can't convey yourself very well. The reason is this, it can also be a tactical one. Especially if you are you're actually both actually in court or indeed remotely. If you give evidence nga to an interpreter, tapos sila magi-interpret nga para sa iyo, inevitably you lose the emotion, no? So kung tanong why can't you both live in the Philippines? And the reason is nandito magulang mo, may sakit sila. You say that, and you probably will say it with quite a lot of feeling because you would be upset at the idea of leaving your parents, no? But you say that then to the interpreter. Tapos yung interpreter, they then relay it to the judge. But of course, without the same emotion, because it's not, of course, their life. It's not their case. So you lose quite a bit in translation, as they would say. So if you can, and then it was always better, I find, that you give direct evidence. So not by an interpreter. But of course, kung hindi mo naintindihan o kaya you're not able to convey yourself, then it's better to have an interpreter because at least then you can put your case forward. But if you don't need it, if the only reason why you're looking to have an interpreter is nervyos ka, but you're actually quite capable, I would advise against it.
Okay. Attorney, may dalawa akong cases lang, no? Tinawag sa akin kasi ng ating mga viewers, no? So, yung isang case, tumawag sa akin yung kaibigan at sinasabi yung kaibigan niya, kasi magkasama sila sa bahay, nakatanggap yata ng sulat from the home office na pinauuwi na by November. Ang nangyari, she left home, yung kaibigan niya, yung may asawa ng British, kasama yung anak niya. At sa palagay niyo raw, ano ba ang the best na gagawin ngayon? Na gano'n, nakatanggap ng sulat mula sa, mukhang pumunta yata ang asawa sa home office at yun nga. At yun, doon nakatanggap na ng sulat itong kaibigan ng friend ko Okay,
Oo.
friend natin na yun nga, pinapauwi na. September yata o August, something like that. Ano ang dapat gawin?
Correct.
Anong the best? Kasi pagka
Okay.
ganyan yata, ang spouse visa ba, ano ba yan? Para malinawan ng ating mga kababayan, no? So nag-asawa, meron bang mga procedure yan? May mga panahon pa ng length of stay supposedly para nang sa ganun maging legal na ang kanyang stay. Ginugulpi yata ang balita, may alam mo sinasaktan kaya't umalis.
Mm. Yeah, it's now ito. Yung ganun na scenario, usually what probably happened is pumasok nga siya dito as a spouse, no? So entry clearance as a spouse. Now, nung nandito na siya, or she would have been given 30 months stay. So 2.5 years. During that time, of course, kailangan nilang magsama nga, and before the visa is going to expire, she needs to make an application. So, but before that, I suspect ang nangyari nga, well, sinaktan siya, so umalis nga siya. So, before the 30 months nga is up. So, nagsumbong nga yung asawa. Sabi siguro sa home office, wala na, hindi na kami nagsasama, hindi ko na sinusuportahan. And so, sumulat nga yung home office sa kanya, I would imagine. So, sabi nila, okay, you're here on a spouse, you're no longer living together with your husband, and therefore, we want you to leave the country. So, so if you like, the status was curtailed, no? So, pinutol nila, no? Now, with that, usually would come a right of appeal. No? If there's no right of appeal, then you need to get that clarified. But if there's no right of appeal, you can potentially get the right of appeal by what's called judicial review. Pero pagka tingnan niya uli yung nakuha niya, yung pinadala nila, therein should be a right of appeal. But that needs to be exercised in this case within 14 days. No? Now, if it's to do now with domestic violence, if it's say the first probation period 30 months, she should appeal that especially. Make sure nga meron siya medical evidence. Now, kung may bata, may anak sila nga, then of course, you also need to mention the fact that there's a child in the United Kingdom. And the court also needs to look into that. So, with the curtailment letter, no, should come also a notice of appeal. So, importante nga, tingnan niya uli yun. Is she still in time? If she's not in time anymore, then apply for permission to extend the appeal and do appeal. Don't just simply accept it.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, okay, mag-petition kapag lagpas na, no? Okay. Pero yung sinasabi mo, evidence of ano yung injury or what were you saying earlier, attorney?
Yeah, domestic abuse. So unfortunately, it happens nga, no.
Oh,
So if you're claiming domestic abuse, it's important that it's also documented. So kung ginupi ka, no, go to the doctor. Don't be afraid. No?
Hindi, nakatakas na. So are you referring to perhaps she may have had some reports to the police before or anything like that, or she, nasaktan siya? Kasi now, ano na tayo? What if she hasn't got that? But she wala na siyang evidence, tapos na siguro, tinitiis lang niya, pero nagugulpi siya. But now that she left finally, and then sabi mo, curtailment pala itong technical term natin dyan, curtailment of her stay, because she has to have this 30 months initially given, and then it gets extended. But it can be curtailed if the husband in this case would probably report, no, I don't know. Ano i-report ng asawa pagka ganyan? Ano i-report niya?
Yeah, siguro ginawa niya nung yung asawa, sumulat siya sa home office, no? So sabi niya siguro sa home office, wala na nga kami, no? And I'm not supporting her case. So then the home office would then wrote to her to say, well, we got this. Normally they would write a kind of a warning letter to say, we got this, can you provide us with evidence? That,
to the husband, we got this letter, and you have to, prove your case or justify it, parang ganyan.
To the wife. So
to the wife.
So if the husband said
a simple letter from the husband, simple letter lang. You just say I'm no longer supporting. Tapos na yun. Yun na yun.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
You see, ang basis ng stay niya is yung relationship nila.
Oh,
so
yes.
kung wala na sila, then the basis for her stay is also gone.
Medyo fragile pala yung mga ganyang relationship, no? In fact, okay, so yun ang dapat niyang gawin lang. Di kaya gusto ko na mag-segue into the second case na gusto kong i-kwento sa iyo, no? So okay na tayo ron. I-appeal niya, ganun, and then have some evidence, sabi mo. Tama ba yan, attorney? Okay.
Yeah, kung meron.
Kung meron. Second case, same-sex relationship naman to. Na-petition, Pinoy to, kababayan natin, Briton yung isa, sabagay, parehong, let's say, parehong lalaki. Ang nangyari, ikakasal na sa susunod na linggo. Okay? Nag-away. Yung kinuha as a fiancé, nag-away. So sabi ng lalaking, yung taga rito, yung Briton, ayoko na, stop na yung wedding, parang ganyan. Okay. Sandali. Tingnan natin, may tawag ba tayo rito? Baka may gusto magtawag lang. But anyway, so ang nangyari is, ganon, nagtatanong siya. Nahihiya kasi, baka ma-expose, baka lalong makita nung kanyang husband ba tawag doon? Dahil parehong lalaki. Husband, baka malaman. So, sabi nga, isikreto lang. Isikreto na hindi siya pwedeng lumabas na siya mismo magtatanong. So, ang iniisip niya, suyuin niya, tiisin na lang na niya, at eventually, pag nakasal na, baka sakali magbago. Pero natatakot siya, baka saktan. Kasi lately, kaya sinabing maghihiwalay na o ayaw nang ituloy, nagkakatampuhan kasi doon lang sa kung ano yung paanong gagawin sa kasal. Minsan yung mga trivial things, maliliit na bagay, nag-flare out pa ng mga tao eh. Pinag-uusapan na lobo. Doon nag-away daw eh. May kulay, may certain color yung gusto. Oh yeah. So, natatakot siya nga dahil siyempre, ang intention ng fiancé na kuha dito, siyempre maglalagi siya. Di ba? Para naman makapagtrabaho na maayos. We equate being in the UK as a good life, a chance of a good life, no? So, iniisip niya, itutuloy ka ba? Pero gusto niya ituloy dahil siyempre, yun ang reason kaya siya nandito. Kaya lang, iniisip niya, later on, kung saktan siya, attorney, anong magiging, natatakot siya na kamukha nitong sinasabi mo, parang related din eh. Baka sumulat sa home office na kesyo, ganun nga, no? Ayaw ng suportahan o hindi na kami nagmamahalan o baka may ginawang masama siya, tong Filipino. Ngayon, ito, pwedeng napapanood niyo itong sinasabi mo, i-document yung yung ba ang pwede niya gawin in future? I-document tong sinaktan and then kakatigan ba siya? Will the home office, believe his side or more or less, if you know what I mean, no? Sa kanya na, kakampihan siya, bibigyan siya ng pagkakataon na despite na itong tong husband, gusto na siyang umuwi, baka sakaling bigyan siya ng pagkakataon dahil sinasaktan siya.
Yeah, no. I mean, there are provisions nga, and rightly so, for against domestic violence. No? But it's a question really of backing it up. So, of course, you can give evidence in a statement na ito nga itong nangyari, na sinasaktan ka, that it was, it's also not just potentially physical abuse, but also emotional abuse, for example. Because sometimes may kaso din akong na-encounter na hindi sila binibigyan ng, hindi sila pinapayagang magtrabaho, no? As a spouse. And then, hindi din sila binibigyan ng pera. So, they're actually withholding financial support, no? So, that also, of course, is a form of abuse. It could also be verbal abuse. So, but the thing is, you see, you need to be able to persuade the home office, firstly, na yung nga ang nangyari. So, kung sinasaktan ka or you're getting threats, by all means, you should call the police. No? You should not allow that simply to happen. Kung sinaktan ka, or indeed if it's causing you mental anguish or you need medication because nga of it, you should go to the doctor. Because on top of that, it's useful evidence. No? So yung sa kanya, I mean, it's quite a difficult situation to be in. Dahil unang-una, hindi pa nga sila kasal. So he's saying, oh, no, hindi na, but he would only have had a visa as a fiancé for 6 months. And during that time, kailangan nilang ikasal. Kung hindi, then he becomes an overstayer. You know? Now, kung kasal na nga sila, So he's saying, well, okay, I'll give, maybe things get better, pagkakasal na kami. But if things do not get better, of course, kasal na siya, and sinasaktan pa nga. So at that point, do continue to, of course, keep evidence, but leave, no? And if it's necessary, then you need to make an application, potentially nga outside the rules or under any exemptions to do with domestic violence. But importantly, of course, na, that you are well enough to do that. And unfortunately, there are also cases na people are not just hurt, but actually fatally hurt because they don't feel that they can leave because of immigration concerns. So it's important, of course, it's important to have proper status now in the UK, but more important than that, you know, of course, is your safety.
Okay, ayan. Nako, ayan. Oh. Ayan ako. Yun ang ating last question for the day. So, thank you very much. Ayan. Attorney, baka may mensahe ka o baka may gusto kong well, nagtatapos na yung ating palatuntunan as of this time, no? Medyo napasarap at nakadagdag tayo ng a couple of questions for tonight. So, saka nga pala ulit pwedeng kontakin, Attorney, email address natin. Teka na, ilalabas natin yung ating email address nang sa ganun ay malaman nyo kung paano nyo kukontakin si Attorney, no? Ayan.
Yan po.
Okay.
Yeah, email me anytime. Telephone number ko po, 0203-375-0555. So, kung gusto nyo mag-email kayo, tawag kayo in Tagalog, o then no problem, of course, happy to reply. And also, whatever you, if you call me nga or see me, of course, it's completely confidential. So, don't be concerned. Huwag kayong mahihiya, especially. And the last thing I would say, Sonny, is happy birthday!
Oy, thank you, Attorney. Maraming salamat. Yes, oo. Oo nga, pandemic time, no? We couldn't have people around, yung mga gusto natin, o love natin, no? Medyo bitin, ika nga. Pero okay lang. So, thank you, Attorney. Thank you very much. Ayan.
My pleasure.
And
I'll see you all next week, huh?
Yes. See you next week for another edition of Immigration Corner. Attorney, thank you very much. You take care, no? And enjoy the rest of the week.
Ingat po kayo.
Okay, bye-bye, Attorney. Ayan, okay, si Attorney LIRA Simon CABATBAT sa ating Immigration Corner at magbabalik ho siya next week.